Nigel here with the drive wire, and I've got the VW ID.4, but this one is an all-wheel drive version. Now this is in the Pro trim. Now previously the rear-wheel drive version was well priced, well equipped, really nice car, but lacked a certain something. It lacked any excitement. So VW has added a little spice to this car by adding a second motor. Now it's a dual motor. Now it competes a lot better with the Model Y, which we know is more expensive. They start at around 53. This one is 45. If you go for the Pro S, it's 49. From the outside, I think the body is pretty cool looking. It's pretty smooth, it's got great lines, it looks modern, but it doesn't look weirdly Jetson-like like some EVs can be. I think it looks like a proper car. The clean lines continue from the front. It's actually got these real air vents right here. This is to cool the radiator, nice and clean look at the front. I think they've done a pretty good job. The new VW badge looks pretty good as well. So size-wise, this particular crossover sits neatly between the Taos and the Tiguan, and it has pretty decent cargo space as well. Now in the back, obviously it's got a rear hatch and it's a pretty flat floor right here. You get about 33 cubic feet of space in here, a little parcel shelf. Under here, you just get the 110 volt charger, which is gonna take you a few weeks to charge the car. They take forever. And a little bit of extra storage space in the back. Now the seats do fold down like this and like this. But the only downside is you have that huge sort of not flat loading space there. Is a big sort of step up, so it makes it tricky to get larger items in. All right, so at the front you get some additional cargo space in the form of a frunk. Actually you don't. This is where the Tesla Model Y beats this one out, because that has the front cargo space. So in the front here, the front mounted motor gives you an additional 107 horsepower for a combined total of 295 and 339 foot-pounds, which helps to get this car moving along quite quickly. So the downside of adding that additional motor is it's gained some weight, 200 plus pounds, but they've added anti-roll bars on the front and the rear. It's got struts on the front and a multi-link suspension setup at the back. And it certainly is a lot more fun to drive than the rear-wheel drive one. Range is also decreased by 10 miles. It'll do about 249 miles versus a Tesla Model Y, which is supposed to do 318 miles, both having a full tank of electrons at 100%. So weirdly at the back, it's got drum brakes. You can't actually see them. VW says they're better for regenerative braking, and then they also provide less friction over the standard sort of rotors and calipers. In the back, there's a lot of space. This seat is right at the back as far as it will go. This particular Pro version has this sort of hard-wearing material. It's not my favorite. It feels like on a hot day like today, it's going to make it even hotter. You do get obviously air vents and 2 fast USBs. And then the other thing that you don't get is any kind of armrest. Although, you know, good news is headroom is pretty good. It will seat 3 across the back, and generally the finishings is standard Volkswagen. Pretty solid, well put together, but definitely feels a little bit utility in the back here. Apparently I'm trapped in here. The child locks are on. To get out the other way. So in the front, it's pretty decent. It's a nice place to be. You get a little armrest for each person here, storage space, cup holders, really nice feeling steering wheel, and then unfortunately there is the infotainment system, which is lacking. It's a bit clunky. It seems like Volkswagen engineers overthought it. There have been some over-the-air updates into this particular system, but it hasn't made it better than the last time I test drove this car. But there are some ways, tips and tricks, you might say, to get around some of the awkwardness of this particular system. Okay, so here's the main infotainment screen, and it's got really nice, sharp graphics, but it is somewhat a pain to use, and particularly these touch buttons right here. And when you're driving along, you sort of sometimes rest your thumb on those to make a selection, or you end up turning the volume down, so it's slightly annoying. Same thing goes for the HVAC controls here. You sort of have to push these a little bit to make them work. It's not the best system. I feel that this screen should be slightly closer to the driver, a little bit like Tesla's are, and more sort of large iPad size instead of this small screen. Difficult to use on the move. My suggestion is that you simply go straight to Apple CarPlay, where your maps are, your music is, and your phone. And that's really all you need. Super easy to use. Here's your main screen. It includes the main things that you need: messages, what's playing, Volkswagen app, and then your Electrify America app, which is pretty simple as well. Settings to your phone. This is the best thing to do. But going back to the home screen, when you first click on the little, well, it's not really a home button. It's just a sort of, in this case, because I set my colors to blue, it's a little blue square. That's your home button. So don't look for the word H-O-M-E. It's not available. Anyway, if you scroll across like this, you get this map here, which isn't much use. One of the things you can do is you just hold your thumb on there or finger, and then you can get rid of that. Okay, so the map's gone away, hit that, and now you've got some space for some other stuff here. You can play around with it, but it is not the best thing, in my opinion, to use here. If the proverbial poop hits the fan, you got a home button here, or rather an off button. If you hold that down for 10 seconds, it reboots the entire system, which can happen. I owned a Tesla. Sometimes the car just doesn't go. So far it hasn't happened to me with this VW, but sometimes things can happen. All right, so you can go into vehicle. This is where you can change all your settings. Now these graphics are kind of cool. Best done while you are stopped. You can scroll through, you got brakes, super nice graphics. Central locking, make some of the doors open, all of the doors open. You can do interior lighting, the cockpit lighting, and the ID light. It's pretty cool. Charging as well. Tells you how much charge you have left. Got 63 left. Typically you would charge to 80%. These media cars, usually we charge them to 100, so we have a little bit further to go. Now what you can do also is save your charging location. So you could say, well, my current location, I can call it, you know, test or whatever, save my location, and then plan ahead as to when I want to set my time. So if I want to set it at the cheap time, I happen to be in San Diego, the most expensive electricity in the country. Luckily I have solar, so I have a charger and it doesn't cost me anything. But if you are charging at home, you could set it to 12:01 a.m. to 5 a.m., the cheapest time, and not get such a huge bill and possibly a minor heart attack. So yeah, it's a good system, great graphics. It's just not the best to use. Climate, if you want the heated seats on, you hit this button here. The heated seats don't go on, they just send you to a climate screen. Too much stuff going on. AC on, and then you can just go ahead, and if there's only one passenger in the car or one person in the car, which would be the driver, just hit this one side, the other side set to eco, all there to save you battery. And then it's got these different drive modes: eco, where you have leaves falling out of the sky; comfort, you're on a rainy looking road; sport, you're on a racetrack; and then custom, you can go ahead and you can change various different settings, and apparently you're in the Alps. And then you've got suspension, you can set it to comfort; steering, sport, ACC, climate control, comfort, etc., or reset it back to factory. So I typically will have it in sport for most of the time. Assist systems are this button. I have turned off the lane change system, side assist, but it apparently continues to work. And this is where you go in for your adaptive cruise control. I've used it once or twice. I find it annoying. And then also, it would be nice to have a physical volume button, because there's nothing worse than having to tap to make the volume work. So there's a few little things that Volkswagen, as I said, they've tried to be too clever with this. They should do their own thing and go back to how they usually do. Give us some knobs, give us some buttons. You don't necessarily have to be old school. The cabin looks really clean, but those things certainly need fixing. Better news down here, you've got two nice big cup holders, and you can pull that out and just create a nice big space. Bad news, piano black everywhere. Manufacturers, stop doing this. I hate it. And then down here, you've got a really nice large Wi-Fi charger, sliding little drawer here, and then some more cup holders. You can take these out if you want to. Yeah, it's really very functional. All right, another thing that I don't like, put my foot on the brake, this weird selector. We're in park right now, which is on the end. Move it to D. D is regular drive, B is regen braking, and then you move it down to reverse, back to B, and then back to park. It takes a little bit of getting used to. On the plus side, the AC is ridiculously cold. In fact, I was turning it down. And obviously, when you don't have an internal combustion engine which creates heat, when you turn the AC off, you actually get a lot of cool air blowing in for quite a long time. So that way you can help save the battery. All right, let's take it for a drive. Got to get used to using the weird controller here. And then we're going to hit mode. I'm going to put it into sport mode because why would we do anything else? So there is a noticeable difference between eco mode, which I use to drive here, and sport mode. Sport mode, you definitely get a bit of a shove in the back when you launch off the line. So we've got 223 miles of range. We're not going to go crazy. It's not a canyon carving trip today, but at least we can tell how the car goes. So first impressions are it is unbelievably smooth. It's got these eco tires, they're quiet. Clearly it's an EV, so it doesn't make any noise. So you can really only hear some of the tires making a noise. Pretty hot today, 87 degrees, so I've got the AC on. That will help us to use more battery up. The brakes are interesting in a sort of not perfect way. They seem to, when you put your foot on the brake, it really feels like you're stepping into a bowl of trifle. Just no feel whatsoever. I mean, regen brakes can be a little iffy. Immediately also, you can tell how much quicker it is. It's not quick like a Model Y would be. It just doesn't feel as nimble, but it's very smooth. It makes super smooth progress. And I kind of like it. And when you put your foot flat on the floor, there seems to be like a little button, almost like an old-fashioned kick-down button from the old transmissions of years ago. I'm not sure if it does anything or it makes it go any faster, but put your foot down and this goes. 339 foot-pounds of torque from 0 RPM is definitely pretty good. I have to say the steering isn't bad either. Not a whole lot of feel going on, but it's decently precise. So it gains speed pretty quickly. Then it does tail off. These ID.4s are pretty much pegged to top speed of 99. Probably both tire related and preserved battery. It's probably why Teslas don't get, their real range doesn't get as close to their EPA range as this car might do. Because Teslas will do like 150 miles an hour if you go flat out, especially the performance one. But this has definitely got a lot more performance than the rear-wheel drive one. I think if I was going to get one of these, then the all-wheel drive one would be the way to go. Now, with every new purchase of one of these, you get 3 years of Electrify America free charging. They got some pretty fast chargers. They're dotted around, mostly in shopping malls. Regen is not as strong as a Tesla. It doesn't bring you to a complete halt, but it is pretty decent, and you can feel the regen kicking in to apply some more power to the battery. I'm pretty impressed with actually how it handles. It's a little floaty on the limit, even though it's got the 2 anti-roll bars that were added. It's a bit floaty, but what do I expect? It's a all-electric crossover that's going to be appealing to families with kids and pets, and not someone like me. I mean, I said when I drove the rear-wheel drive one that the VW had done a pretty good job with this car, and they have, save for the annoying, overcomplicated infotainment system that I mentioned. But the car is pretty good, and a bargain nonetheless. it's a good, solid, safe form of transportation that has a little spice to it, a little extra power than before. You can definitely outdrag some people at the lights. They say it'll do 0 to 60 in around 5.6 seconds. Now I've been charging it to 100%. That's what VW did with the car when they brought it over, so I figured, what the hell, I'll keep doing the same thing. But technically, if you're an owner, you want to charge it to 80% to prolong the battery life. It does come with a pretty decent warranty though, so, but you know, nobody really knows how long batteries last. They're expensive to replace. Most of these warranties are around 8 years. I don't know if anyone's got there yet to test that warranty. I found the rear-wheel drive one to be slightly painfully slow, and I had to just relax and go with the flow. But this one, with its extra zip, I think the difference in price is about $3,800. Go for the all-wheel drive. With a 10-mile and a 10-mile penalty in range, you're gonna have a lot more fun with it, and it's a nicer car. It's just a nicer car to drive. All right, so what do we think? I like it. It's a solid car. Would I get one over a Tesla Model Y, or maybe even a Mustang Mach E? It's certainly the least expensive option. Obviously, you get the federal credit too, so $7,500 of federal credit on your $49,000 drops the price quite a lot. It's just not as fast as the Y, and me personally, I'm all about a little bit more speed. But other than that, I think it's a pretty damn good car. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like. Hey, if you've got one of these, let me know. If you've got a rear-wheel drive one, let me know. And we'll catch you next time with another video. Out.